Grit, determination, physical toughness, and mental toughness. That is what you need to overcome an injury. That is what KJ Miniefield had to overcome his injury. He is expected back on the field this season, as he is expected to play in the game against Delaware. We hope to see him back on the field soon and cannot wait to see what he does going further. This has been KJ Miniefield's Road to Recovery.
Game 1, Austin Peay home opener, starting the 2025 season. Right here, you suffered an injury in your first quarter. Take me through that.
Home opener, very excited to get out. I just transferred here this year, so looking to have a great start of the year. And we have our first couple opening drives, and the third drive is when my injury happened. It was just a normal play, just got blocked in the back and went to the ground, and I flipped over and seen my elbow dislocated. And I think it was kind of just a shock factor. It's really, I don't think anyone's really prepared to see a dislocation, and just expect it to be you at the end of the day. So it was definitely emotional for sure.
First game of the season, you were in the stands, and first quarter, you saw the injury happen. What was your initial reaction?
Quite honestly, my first initial reaction is I saw it, but I didn't really see it in detail like my wife did. I simply saw him go on the ground, KJ go on the ground, and didn't really know to what extent it was at that point. And then I saw him, he continued lying on the ground, and so I figured it had to be a little bit more serious than what I initially thought. And so at that point, my wife and I, we were in the stands, and we went down to the field level to get information as to what was going on.
So when the trainers came out, did they say anything to you?
Yeah, so my head athletic trainer, he first off said I've never seen anything like this, so definitely gave me a little bit of like, whoa, like this is crazy. Honestly, so my first thoughts was on the field, I was thinking my season's over. I was definitely down on myself, and I was really emotional in the tent, finding out, like, I really wasn't hearing much. They told me it wasn't fractured, but I was still upset at the fact of what just happened.
Was your mindset more going towards the aspect of you as a parent, or you as a player trying to be like, okay, that's the injury. I've heard of this or seen this before with other players. I know he can come back from this.
Yeah, it's difficult as a parent, because even though you've gone through it as a player, you still have your parental, emotions. And so I try to separate the two. When these situations happen, KJ has torn his ACL before, both ACLs. My daughter has torn her ACL. All of my children have had sports injuries, unfortunately. And so initially what I try to do is be the calming voice in the room. And I don't have all the answers, and rather than just speak and talk, I try to provide just the calmness. And so he was very, very upset. And so, I allow for those emotions to come out, because those are surface level emotions that everyone experiences. And so I allowed him to get through that, but I'm also thinking forward. I've never had a dislocated elbow, so I, quite honestly, before the doctor came in at halftime and talked to us and told us that it wasn't season ending, I honestly thought that it probably was. And I think KJ, with his mindset, was under the impression that it was season ending as well. So when we learned that it wasn't, my mindset immediately went to, okay, feel what you feel, react how you react, but now we have to change it to a response. Like, how are we going to respond? And we control how we respond. and that's to figure out the next steps. So that was my mentality.
Take me through that rehab process of after that injury, accepting it and going to rehab multiple times a day,
Mm-hmm.
and then getting better eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And take me through that whole process.
So at first it was really just at least getting my swelling down mainly. So just I was in a sling, and I was in a formulated like cast, not a full cast, but just a cast to keep my arm bent. And really it was just working step by step to get even, progressing better, which is like taking day by day by getting the cast off. So that's a win. Then go down the next week, get my sling out. So then just start working on movement. And the biggest thing was just mobility wise. Just with a dislocation, you tear ligaments within your elbow. So just working on strengthening that area, and just knowing that, I mean, it won't necessarily feel, what you may want it to feel all the time, but at the end of the day, you got to remind yourself from point A to where I am now, it's 100. It's so much better. So I mean, yeah, that's what I would say.
Whether you are a player or a parent, what advice would you give someone who is in the shoes of KJ or in the shoes of yourself as a parent with the child who's injured?
Yeah, I think I would say as a parent, would be to ask questions with the medical professionals, and gain some understanding as to um, what's the root of the problem, what's the issue, and then how do we recover from it. So whether that's asking questions of the situation with the team doctor, what has he experienced before with this type of injury? How did they treat it? And then communicating with your team trainers in terms of what's the rehab process look like, and then communicating with your position coach as well. What's the timeline? How do you feel? How's KJ speaking to you? Because sometimes as parents, we hear one version and coaches hear another. So just being on the same page. So that's what that's the advice I would give to parents. And as a player, again, I know I've mentioned it before, but there are no great stories without adversity. So understanding and embracing the fact that this is your journey. It's different than everybody else's. I know the social media, we like to compare our real life to everyone else's highlights, right? But the reality of it is this is your journey. Embrace it, attack it. And at the end of it, it'll be your story to tell.
Any advice you would give to someone who is in your shoes, or heavens forbid becomes in your shoes?
Yeah. Like I said, I talk to recruits about this as well. They ask me questions of how do you mentally stay involved and well and not get down on yourself. And my answer every time is everything happens for a reason. And honestly, this is a testament to myself. I've been through so much more worse things, and just including life and as a whole. You have to remind yourself this is a game at the end of the day, but you have the opportunity to play this game. And not everyone in this world was born to even have opportunity. So if you get injured playing this game, you don't need to get down, and you don't need to stay down. It's okay to feel upset and confused on why it happens, but you can't stay in that state of mind because it doesn't benefit you on anything. Just looking forward to getting better. Just appreciate the process. That's what I would say too.
Grit, determination, physical toughness, and mental toughness. That is what you need to overcome an injury. That is what KJ Miniefield had to overcome his injury. He is expected back on the field this season, as he is expected to play in the game against Delaware. We hope to see him back on the field soon and cannot wait to see what he does going further. This has been KJ Miniefield's Road to Recovery.